But the concentration problem and the idea of too big to fail in the financial sector, it gets a lot of attention. But the problem isn't unique to the financial sector. It is hiding in plain sight all across the American economy.
Senator Liz Warren at an event aptly titled, quote, America's Monopoly Problem. Now, of course, she is anti-business as anyone, but she's becoming more and more the face of the Democratic Party. To former Obama economic advisor Austan Goolsbee on the shift that his party is taking. You know, of course, Bernie Sanders making massive inroads against Hillary Clinton during the primary process, pointing to her Wall Street ties, and there seems to be a serious anti-business theme that goes way beyond even what President Obama presents.
I don't think that that's totally fair. I mean, first, I've kind of got a little cognitive dissonance. We just saw yesterday Donald Trump give a speech in which the Chamber of Commerce condemned the statements made by the Republican nominee. So it's a little weird to be putting in the context that you think the Democrats are the ones that are anti-business. It seems like business is way anti the Republican candidate.
Let's face it, Austin. I mean, perhaps both parties are sort of echoing the theme of the nation. I mean, the bottom line is it doesn't. Donald Trump's stance on trade is very similar to Bernie Sanders, and it's been very similar to progressives throughout the last several years. So,
yeah, I guess I'd say two things.
Yeah.
One, Elizabeth Warren's message today, I thought is not explicitly anti-business. It's pro-competition. The concentration and not doing enough antitrust enforcement, the rise of consolidation in a number of the major industries of the United States over the last 20 years is an issue that economists and business people have been talking about and harping on for some time. That it does not make you anti-business to say that we ought to have more competition.
And by the same
I think
token,
that's a little misnomer.
You know, I don't know if you've ever been in an A&P supermarket, Austin. But, you know, there wasn't...
Well, they don't have A&P out here.
Okay, well, about 50, 60 years ago, Congress was going to break up the company. They control 70% of the groceries in this country. And guess what? Competition took them apart, and they filed bankruptcy a couple of years ago. You know, the fight against IBM, the notion that we would take
is your argument we shouldn't have antitrust enforcement?
My argument is that this, I don't see where it's actually helped, to be quite frank with you, because
to be quite frank,
disagree with you're saying what we should do is attack and destroy the most successful companies in America rather than letting the free market do it.
We should enforce the rules of competition. There's nothing good for business about ripping up the rules of the road and letting one or two powerful companies wipe out new entrants.
You got to be a little worried, though, who decides if someone won by too large of a margin. You know, I can understand the gripe about big banks getting bigger. Hey, listen, I'm in a camp of never bail them out again. But then now to go after businesses and decide who's been too successful, who's winning by too large of a margin, and how to beat them down, I think that only helps foreign competition.
Look, we have worked this out over many decades. There are explicit merger guidelines that say exactly how you should look for whether the concentrations exist because of efficiency or whether they exist because of increased market power.
They've been giving me the rap for a minute, but I got to ask you one last thing then. Do you honestly believe stopping Staples and Office Depot from merging, that somehow they presented a monopolistic threat to the world? These are two dying companies that wanted to try to stay alive a little longer. Why would the Obama administration be against something like that?
Well, we'd have to go get the data, but I would be willing to bet you that if you look at the information, there are many geographic areas where the data show that prices would have gone up, and that's why they blocked it.
That's unfortunate. Hey, Austin, though, I do appreciate you coming on. Always, please keep coming.
Good to see you again.
All right, you too, buddy.